Greetings and salutations, everyone. Welcome back to the Inn of Planar Crossroads. Kind of. It's kind of the Inn of Planar Crossroads. We are doing our long-promised collaboration with Avenue Studios, and we'll go around in a second. But first, just so you know, we are discussing this time in the Around the Hearth. We're saying something along the lines of character legacy and characters through generations in a game. So that's what we're going to be focusing on. And we'll start at the far end.
I'm Jacob. I'm part of Avenue Studios. That's all I gotta say.
I'm Dan. You've probably seen me before if you watched Around the Hearth. Welcome to Avenue Studios. Thank you, Adam, for coming out, by the way. This has been awesome. I think both of us will probably have social media stuff of pics. We took the kids to the local game store. We had grill outs. It's been great. So movie nights, you can join. You can support Avenue Studios as well as Planar Crossroads on Patreon. We're at Subscribe Star for you. We're also on Locals, Avenue Studios, and we do movie nights. So we got to have Adam join us for our subscriber movie night, which was awesome. We saw The Crawling Eye.
The Crawling Eye or the Trollenberg Terror or something like that.
Trollenberg Terror.
1958. Go look it up. Worth a watch.
It was.
Absolutely well-paced for a D&D adventure or Pathfinder adventure or whatever system you use adventure.
Yeah, 100%. So anyways, support us all, and we'll keep doing these collaborations as much as we can.
Zechariah Underwood. I'm with him. I'm on Avenue Studios and all. And RPG is just the best hobby that there is. And I'm so passionate about the topics we have today. I'll try and reel it in. But enjoy.
Now, this is the time. This is the thing where we get to let our minds stream out all our ideas and stuff. So there we go.
Uh-oh.
There we go.
Here we go.
And I am, of course, Adam from the Inn of Planar Crossroads. And you have already announced the Patreon Subscribe Star. They're locals. We might look into locals. I was asked about it, so we might look into it. And I'm having a little trouble trying to get things situated with the webpage, but hopefully it'll be up soon with the redesign, and it'll have, if it's done desired, it will have a direct PayPal spot where you can just pay directly once through PayPal if you want to, and donate to the creation of this and other various content. While we're up here, I will branch into that real quick. Announcements is this will come out in August, so you guys will probably already have seen the Misadventures Continued that we filmed today with me and my son. We recorded it. I wouldn't say we filmed it. It was audio, so it's released as a podcast. And it is going to have my son and my daughter. We finally got her in on it.
That's awesome.
She wanted to play a cat. And I was like, yeah, you can play a cat in Open Legend. And she's like, oh, okay. So now she's playing a mage kitty that does kind of shadow illusion magic and kind of teleporty magic. So we'll see where it goes. I might have to rearrange her feats to focus more on the shadow illusion magic with how she played today. But we'll see. That's always fine. But that's all I have really for announcements. No other announcements before we start in, guys?
I think the only other thing for us is hopefully by August we'll be on Twitch as well, so you can see some of our live stream. Jacob's going to be running a Pathfinder 2e beginner box.
So excited.
Hopefully we can have you on as a player as well sometime too for the live stream. Oh, good. Okay. So, yeah, that's the only other thing for us. We're hoping very soon to be on Twitch as well. So, that's it.
All right. Well, then, come in. Sit down, travelers. Grab your preferred beverage. And as you do, sit down by the fire. And join us as we discuss character legacy. And characters having legacy. So, this particular one was saved for when I was up here, because I specifically wanted Zechariah to be here because he has a whole gnome family that he's got. So we'll let him start with his gnomes.
I think
wait, he has a gnome family?
I do. Yes.
Whoa. For years.
Oh no.
Family parties must be fun.
Explosive, one would say.
So yeah, my gnome family of the Taylahay adventuring gnome family started more than a decade ago, probably about 14 years back. And it was never started out to be a big thing, but I just wanted to say, how do I incorporate other elements of my character's backstory? And so I decided, as a gnome quirk, I would just have him constantly referencing family and inside jokes that had no connections. But as a gnome, you can laugh at whatever you want. So anyway, I played it. I loved it. I learned I had an absolute passion for playing a gnome. And as we were doing a lot of one-shots or a lot of like some shots, I decided, well, if I want to play a gnome again, why don't I just play that cousin that the previous one referenced? It snowballed a little bit. So
he says a little bit, but if you've watched Avenue Studios, there's an entire treehouse There's an entire house of Taylahays. So,
Well, they're not all gnomes.
well, there is one ogre.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, they did add a treehouse recently. That'll come out eventually.
yeah. So I have the kind of the nuclear family is Tiri and Tajik. Together they have, as you may know from Bob's Squad, Miri Marie, Tamarin, Kari. The triplets that kind of function as a Huey, Dewey, Louie unit is one. Pim Pam Peter, and you are adopted troll. And then Tiri has at least 3 siblings that I have played. Tajik has 2 or 3 siblings that definitely 3 siblings that I've played. And then I've played 2 of the grandparents as well. And then I have a couple of other ones that just didn't fit neatly into the tree that have been around, and one that is just mysteriously called the Ancestor, who decided after, leveling up to every, level 20 in every single class, that the thing they wanted to be the most was a kid, and they found a way to do that. But the fun of it has been mostly in having this endless repertoire of things to reference. Not everyone has been existing in the same world or the same story, but the idea that they're out there and that you can pull elements from all of these other stories that you have is just immensely fun. One example is the gifts that Tiri gives to the party members.
Mm-hmm.
Every gift that's referenced is something from another story, another adventure that I've had. The scarf, the epic long red enemy scarf that our hero gets, and the sword that is just like a dirk to him that was a sword to someone else were both gifts from another player to one of my characters a decade ago. And I got this wonderful opportunity one day to go back to that old play group and be like, hey, do you remember when we did this thing? And I played that character and everything. I referenced all of your group and these things, and I paid tribute by saying, I remember you were like that, and I thought, let's give this gift to this character. And that was just a magical experience. It brought about so much good memories of good times, and it helped make living in the moment, giving those gifts, feel so real.
Well, those gifts were real to that character.
Yeah.
They meant something to the character, so they meant something to the other characters that received them as gifts.
Yeah, and it was almost hard for me to be like, well, I canonically remember, like, I've given this away. I can't reference that one anymore.
Well, I mean, you never know. The Akiro is a recurring cycle, see?
Yes.
So someday there may be an artifact of the Akiro that comes back around.
And so it's very exciting to kind of dream through the future beyond a character's life to what else it could mean to other people, or if other people take it to other play groups. I've had other people that have asked to play members of the family, and some of them are my own family members, which made it always very interesting, or just other play groups. So somewhere else, there's probably someone who's played a Taylahay. And hopefully sometime we'll get back in touch and be like, hey,
second cousin twice removed on my mother's side. First cousin once removed. No.
Yes.
So
that's really cool. I didn't know that you had friends playing Taylahays too.
Mm-hmm.
That's really special. That's awesome.
So that lets the Taylahay family is a great example of having that, and you basically can build out a whole family tree of characters. And we were talking before that the idea of making, I've got to make a unique character each time, and the fact that wasn't really how tabletop games started out with their characters. You were playing a character, and the ones that survived, you made multiple characters, and you played the ones that survived.
Yes.
But there's a good and a bad side to that. The good side is, let's cover the bad first. The bad side is you don't have much connection to all the characters you make. But the good side is, as that character grows, maybe you get to level 5, which was a big deal in OSR. Getting to level 5, you got much more power, you got much more strength in your character, and that character started to be more influential in the area and around, which we've also kind of lost with big heroic fantasy. Everybody feels big and important, but we may get into this on the Druids table for low power games in various systems. But the idea of having this character carry on, and now they do have children, like in their downtime, they've had children, they've gotten married, because a level 5 taking level out, a heavily influential character in the area that they live in, especially amongst dwarves or gnomes or highly lineage-based hierarchical systems, they would be very desirable to wed. So they may wed, depending on their system, they may wed more than once, depending on how it works. I think in Dragon Age, the dwarves can marry as many females as they would like to marry, and the higher they are in the... If I remember, you can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but if I believe I remember from Dragon Age Origins that the king had several wives, and he could pick from all of the dwarves in that particular city which wife he wanted. And with that being the case, if that's the case in your systems, or if it's the case in a different way, orcs in Skyrim have a similar system where they are able, you have the war chief who is the master of that area, and he's kind of like lions with a pride. So,
but trust like that is not freely given.
No. And a lot of the times those don't end up working out, because then that means one person has multiple sires. So usually the single, like the monogamous relationship, builds the best character foundation up so you can have at least something. Unless you're going for the bastard king, which is what one of my characters did do. But
I was thinking about that, especially with that. The idea. I played one orc character that had a ton of siblings, but it was only in a short game, so I didn't get the chance to really flesh it out. But he had all these siblings because it was some orc. Actually, it was a human barbarian tribe that had taken over an orc tribe, and so his dad had a bunch of, wives, and I'm suddenly blanking on the name. What is it? Concubines. There it is. Yeah.
There you go.
And so he has a ton of siblings, but and he would reference them every once in a while, and it really made it fun. It also gives your game master, speaking from experience. Yeah. I mean, it's a little.
That's where I was going to go with it.
It's great there's so much to play with, because it is the classic, like, well, I'm an orphan because I don't want to. Yeah. I don't know. Is it you don't want to think about it? Is it just easier?
Well,
ask yourself, how many orphans have you played? Yeah. And then think, well, what if you came from a family of adventurers?
See, I prefer to have. Well,
that's so true.
That's true. Yeah, but I definitely prefer my players having family and origins, because it gives you something to work with. They get letters, like Thierry does.
Yes, that's been fun.
Or if they even give you permission to take control of some of them, essentially as NPCs, they can show up or become endangered as they gain clout in your world. Now, family members can become targets.
Yeah.
If you cause problems with, a kingdom. Oh.
Don't tell Zach what I'm playing. No, I'm just kidding.
He comes home. All of the Taylahays is burning.
Yeah.
He's no.
Speaking from experience, maybe
it was a dark episode,
not
man.
to do that.
It was a dark episode.
I did have another character.
Dan would be in trouble in real life.
Yeah, I would. I had to say it has been stressful. Stressful is not the right word. Zach has put so many years into these characters. He's so gracious with it, but I was like, I want to be very careful with this precious gem.
But I've said so many times, you brought them to life because I started by playing all the characters around this core nuclear family before Bomb Squad. Bomb Squad is, and this campaign is where we dove into the nuclear family that we always reference, and Dan brought so many of those characters to life. And because all the nephews and Tyrion and Tajik that have been referenced before already meant something to me, but I didn't know them yet. And having someone else have the opportunity to play them and bring to life and give a unique piece of personality to the family made them instantly endearing, and therefore they mattered all the more to me. So
He's
very good.
It's such a privilege to be able to do that though too, because I was thinking on the negative side of all this. I had a barbarian, one of my favorite characters to play, Minotaur Barbarian in 5e, and he had a whole family, and it was one of the things we ended up going back to his hometown, but then the campaign was kind of dying, so then the GM just killed my whole family. It's just like, yep, they're all dead, because he wanted it to be a dark ending, and I was like, okay, well, that's fine, I guess.
But now he's got to go build a new one.
Yep. Yeah. He has a friend trapped in his friend's soul's trapped in a sword. I still have him in my mind, still on an adventure to free his friend.
At least he'll free his friends.
Yeah, I hope so.
But with that note, it gives you also an opportunity to transcend storylines that can't be completed. Because I remember being a part of a campaign that we were setting out to do a 1 to 20 kind of a campaign, and we got very, very invested in it. We played heartily through. We got 6-7 levels in, and then it stopped because life happens and you grow and you move and such, and that can leave you feel very unfulfilled if you have a character that you're very attached to. So finding a way to keep their story alive by playing someone else in the family that's writing them letters, or that's worried about them, that says, hey, maybe someday we can go visit. Those kind of connections keep that character alive, because the character lives in your mind and imagination, and in the imaginations of people that you bring them to share with. So that character who never got to finish their story in play, in my next story, in the next campaign, they made it to level 20. They were an established wizard. They were looking to move beyond this plane of reality into a new plane of reality. I mean, I could decide that because it was part of my new character's backstory, and that was very satisfying to me.
Well, and on that note, I have a character who I love playing, and he appears in a lot of my games. If you've actually played with him, he's usually a half-orc, and his name's Krusk, and he has different variations, and I've played him in different situations, but his legacy is a little different because I do kind of have him where, in my mind, he ends up in these different realities, and it's kind of fun to do that, and to kind of use him in different situations and scenarios. And it's like, that's a different kind of a legacy in a way, because he's more of a legacy for me to bring into all these games. And so he hasn't established a family yet. We haven't gotten that far with him in any game. And he's an NPC in a lot of games. But it's a lot of... For me, I enjoy that. It's kind of like... And he has actually died once in one of the realities. Like... So, and that was...
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no. I don't tell a lot of people that one, but...
Sure, he's still alive.
Yeah, but that's...
Dark backstory commences.
Yeah. But he could be. I mean, there's ways in fantasy worlds for resurrection and all these things, and I haven't got quite to fleshing that out fully yet, but for me, I enjoy that, and it doesn't bother me canonically to have him appear in these different time periods. For me, it's like he entered a portal. You know, it's easy in these worlds to go into different planes and different just to change. You know, and it's like, for me, that's fun, and that's, I know it's a different kind of a legacy and a different kind of like longevity character, but
well, we'll be talking next subject is talking about crossing systems with characters.
Yeah.
So
that
apropos.
That being said, and we maybe go like peg it as a piece of a segue. There is a second family that I do, and I've referenced them as the one that became a little 20 wizard, and for me, it's the Delaner family. And instead of having them as a family in one world like the Taylahays are, they are a character concept that exists usually in each of my settings, and they are characters that believe that they have a family member that is somehow separated and removed, and they're trying to reunite. So in Star Wars, I have a pair of them, and they're hyperlaners, and they're traveling around the universe. In Pathfinder, they exist as characters who believe that a high fantasy realm must exist somewhere. And I play them as the same personality, the same kind of trope. I can tap into the character very easily because it's a human experience that I love, this dreaming of somewhere else, somewhere bigger. And so I think of them as kind of this parallel family. It's versions of them, but together they're kind of collectively a family, a shared dream, a shared goal, and in a parallel.
And that works real well, especially when you're wanting to. As a GM, it's hard sometimes to come up with the right NPC for a specific area or something. But, I mean, you've almost built out an entire town with the Taylahays. And given just a year or two more of play, the Taylahays may expand and actually have like the Taylahayville or whatever that they decide to go with. So
I've never actually thought about putting a name if they were to make a village.
it's our first PDF.
Yeah.
We're going to do a PDF on his village.
Dang, we're going to call it Taylahaylia.
Taylahaylia.
Write that down.
There it is. Yep. So in Taylahaylia, you actually have.
I mean, I'm loving it already. I mean, all right. Podcast
So somebody runs the inn, and everybody's related because that's how small towns are.
Right. Yeah.
But it's okay because they have visitors come in. You know, crushes happen on certain elves and things like that. So,
I'm looking forward to tomorrow.
I mean, we're doing as of filming this, tomorrow is when we film the game that will eventually come out, the one shot with Iliad's
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly when, but it will come out.
Depending on when that comes out, you guys will have seen this probably before that. I'm playing a bad guy, so don't hate me. But the character is a evil character, so I'm warning everybody ahead of time. But back to Taylahaylia. So Taylahaylia, they've got all of that, and I kind of have a little town that I try to keep in the back of my head called Seven Falls. It's actually going to come into play in the Adventure Academia. And what's fun about it is that depending on how you as a GM build out your universe, you can have things that used to exist in another setting come into this one without any problems, or be a oddity or a curiosity in that setting and become a part of the mystery of the setting. So, like Seven Falls was a place that was thrown together for a one-shot in the first game I ever ran for, I believe it was four other people. And I was just running it as a fill-in because the GM that I was going to work with on that was making the content and needed somebody to fill in. But Seven Falls became a thing in my head, and so it just kind of matured slowly. Now Seven Falls has a specific person in it that's tied to the Inn of Planar Crossroads, and she's now older. She's an elf, and she was the granddaughter of Jenkins, who is the elf that runs the bar at the Inn of Planar Crossroads, or kind of curates the whole thing. And he's connected to that. He's connected to her, but she's now older than him. Like physically, she's aging and far older than him, because by the time all of this happens, and by the time Atar happens, the universe is broken and is reforming. So she can remember pieces, and she'll remember him. And the funny thing is, when someone enters into the Inn of Planar Crossroads, they can start to remember the past universe. But if she sees Jenkins, if he rarely does, but if he ever leaves and goes to Seven Falls, she may or may not recognize him because of that different universe that exists. Because she's had an entire life that she understands here in Atar, but her true self is from the past universe. So there's this back and forth, and you can do a lot of different touching things with stories and carrying forward characters and location. Entire locations can become a character for you. And it makes a huge difference for your world building when Taylahaylia exists somewhere in all of Dan's universe. But other places start to exist too that are affected by Taylahaylia. And all of these connections start to happen. And you have a living universe then inside your mind that's able to be interacted with, because characters end up having legacies. Characters end up having either families or influential people become a influence on their society around them. Because a character's influence may not be a genealogy, but an entire social structure focused around this hero that has come around, and this hero worship that developed. And you can play lots of different games with that, saying that, oh yes, this character is a hero right now. But if you fast forward a few hundred years, they're not just a hero. They become a demigod in people's minds, but they were just somebody that saved things. The town of Jane from Firefly type of thing comes to mind. And that passing down of those different things is a type of legacy for your character. But I like when all of that can mix together. So maybe using that same example, the hero did have a family and stuff like that. And maybe the first couple generations didn't promote him as anything bigger than he was. But one of the other separate portions that started to branch off. And then you had all of these other factions kind of build around these two different ideas of who this character was, who this person was, that you may have played. He may have been a character that you played.
It's a way of expanding the RPG that could start off as being something of a dungeon crawl, a module, or something that, is a pre-made adventure, and be a launching point for depth. It gives you something new to explore beyond just, rolling the dice and seeing if you hit a monster. And especially people that, have played my one-shots and things like that, I love to find some new angle to explore through an RPG. And Legacy is one of those ones that takes a long time to do, especially if you're carrying it on through real life. My Star Wars campaign has a continuity that's going back since my first semester in college. And the Gnome family goes back to a little bit before that. And I think the Delaner family goes back about 8 or 9 years right now. So taking the time to put that in, it comes with just persevering with a hobby, persevering with friends, and finding opportunities to make the experience a little bit more meaningful. So if you're looking for that, if you enjoy it and you want to find a way, hey, how do we make more out of this and dig deeper? Family, play siblings. play parent and child. That's a strange one, but it's a fun dynamic. Find something like that makes the characters stand out, and they will build the meaning through the play.
Oh, go ahead. No, you got it.
And then when you go to play one of those pre-mades you were speaking of, or Adventure Path or whatever, you walk in with one of the daughters or sons from your legacy. They come in with a built-in backstory.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that helps other characters and the GM. It's all just fleshed out nicely, and boom. And then they can start their own legacy from that end of it, too. Now there's another story for one of the children. And it just continues. It's a beautiful thing. Because it doesn't end. You know, Taylahays don't have to end. It's interesting.
Well, and I was thinking on the flip side of putting in those years, also what you were talking about in the beginning of you just wanted to have the inside jokes.
Yeah.
Even just literally for you as well. Like that
Laughing
could
at your own
really
jokes. No
help,
one ever
right?
does that, right?
But like that could really help because you can start, even if you haven't put in those years yet, you start with something and you have these people you could reference. And again, that's something you're giving the GM something to work with that could be really helpful because now there's meaning. You have immediate meaning on these different potential NPCs or even just for your character. It does make the character feel more real.
If you don't want the GM to just kill your character out of spite, tell them that you've been playing their family for 10 years. They maybe they'll think twice about doing that to you.
Well, depends on the GM.
Zach actually has only been doing it since we started Bomb Squad. This is a long con.
Yeah.
No,
He knew somehow
really
that you guys were going to start broadcasting on YouTube that didn't exist when he was first playing the game.
Yeah.
He knew somehow.
He's starting it now.
He's got some kind of time machine. That's what it is.
It is, yeah.
Yes,
Makes
it is.
sense.
To go along with the legacy, we talked and touched on, and say, you were right. See how many orphans you've played.
Yes.
I actually ended up doing something with that idea, but it's still I still had connections with it because I was tired of. I wanted to make a character for each race that was in Pathfinder. Basically, what it boiled down to. So it was like ogre and this and that. Well, those type of creatures don't usually end up in traditional orphanages. So you had
Traditional orphanages.
yeah. So there were 2 orphanages in this town that I don't even have the name of the town or anything like that, but I do have the name of the orphanage. I've got it written down. I haven't forgotten it. It's written down in my bag over there somewhere. I didn't think to get it, but it is. It came about because I wanted to play a Damphir and go for a full-on Damphir grappling build. He was evil. He was.
Just to confirm Zach's
Yeah.
laugh.
Yes, he was a
was evil.
Damphir. He was an orphaned Damphir that definitely evil, and he needed a backstory. But I knew that parentage would probably be a problem, so orphan was the biggest pick. But I didn't want to do just like he's an orphan and ta-da!
Yeah.
Someone took him out. No, there's this actual orphanage in that particular area that ends up getting the not usually half orcs necessarily, but like Damphir, Vishkanya, the different races that are far enough from the human form that people are like, no, the unsettling and all that. And not all of them turn out evil. Like the person that runs it, she's not evil. I think I had an ogre running it. It was a mother ogre that, if I remember, I didn't give her a backstory. So here's her backstory. She lost her ogre family, so she made an ogre family, and she's not dumb. She's a smarter ogre, but she couldn't stay with the other ogres because they were bigger and stronger. So she made her own ogre family, and so she put her stuff up and built her own little house, and that's where it's not little anymore. That's where all of the stuff is. So there's I think there's a minotaur there and stuff. And all of that built up together. And now there's this whole set of characters that have connections back to each other, being raised in the same orphanage. And there's a legacy for them. They have built-in legacy and backstory. And even this like even this character called Akeldama and his significant other, who is the Vishkanya, she would let him... Vishkanya in Pathfinder have an option for their venom to either be... Their body fluids can either be poisonous or put you to sleep. Akeldama had insomnia. He couldn't sleep. She was the only one for him to really... When they found each other, he only got good sleep when she let him drink her blood. So
Nice.
there's that
So romantic.
dark connection there for them.
Yeah.
And so they're kind of inseparable for that reason. And that's built-in backstory. That's built-in not just backstory, but legacy for those characters to be like, even these evil characters, because they're not good people, but they send a portion of their money back to Mama Ogre, or whatever name I give her, so that the orphanage keeps going and keeps carrying on. And heaven forbid anything bad happen to that orphanage, because there's a lot of powerful creatures in that associated with that orphanage.
And if you're doing a campaign where you want to threaten your players with, fates worse than death, this is a really good opportunity. If you have people that take legacy characters or put that kind of effort in to develop these, intricate backstories and families and other things we care about, you can play a kind of game where preserving that character's sanity, preserving that character's morals, preserving that character's family and home matters more. I didn't personally have a legacy character for this campaign. We had one that was in the Cthulhu tech universe. And in that campaign, death is a very real thing, but to make a Cthulhian horror work, you need to threaten existence. You have to find a way to threaten someone's care about a imaginary mental world and place and setting, and that's hard to do. So the game master took the time to have several sessions where there was nothing overtly threatening, where we did family outings with characters, where our military squad bonded, doing going to a club and doing a dance off and wrecking the place afterward, and going and meeting the CEO's family and rebuilding their house. And by taking the time to build that investment, when something all of a sudden out of nowhere and horribly inexplicably and cruelly unfair came and threatened the lives that we had, it was terrifying. That is amplified if you're doing something like that with someone's legacy character. Get your friends together. Have everyone pull their legacy characters, favorite legacy characters together into a setting, and then present those kind of threats and make them fight for something that they really, really care about. You'll find that you're going from just role pretending and role playing to role living. And it's a very, very fun experience.
We had a little bit of that in your Pathfinder with the Kingmaker campaign when Ryan and I were playing brothers. And we are brothers. It was actually weird in a way. It was interesting because I didn't have to pretend he was my brother, It's
right.
Like there's no, he is literally my brother, and then you're like actually hitting on real things. I really enjoyed that. That was really cool. So doing something like that where even as a group of friends, you decide to all have maybe go in on one legacy. Maybe you are playing a family or a group of friends, like you all actually know each other really well, or all of you come from the same orphanage. Something like that. That could really add some weight to now.
That's where all the orphans come from.
Someone's
running an orphanage, and you're playing an orphanage.
And the inner planar orphanage.
Yeah. They just drop them off randomly wherever it shows up.
Well, I mean, the inner planar Crossroads does kind of have everybody from all different types of planes come through. So.
Right. I like that. But yeah, that really adds some that. it adds weight that you can't manufacture, I guess I would say.
And
it was
stretching
cool.
beyond, the brother connection, you got kids.
Yes.
You make the family, make your family. Like, I have, I don't know if my kid is ever going to want to carry on my character's legacies, but I mean, he could inherit them. You could play them, grow attached to it, and you could make it a family thing. And definitely pro family play RPG. It's incredible bonding. Your kids have a huge imagination. They want to express it. They want time with you. And when the dice decide so many things, it's easy for them to play. And I definitely think that's an opportunity that's absolutely priceless. And we're getting there, man. We got that.
I know. They're getting to the age. We have young kids. Adam's ahead of us a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
That definitely
That's
ran
pretty
a couple
good.
too. So.
Yeah.
I'm glad Illy finally decided to go ahead and play.
Yes.
It's fun with just Addy, but Addy has nowhere to bounce his ideas off of or things like that. Because I'm the GM, there's already an NPC in there I have to control.
Mm-hmm.
But he now has his sister's character, even though her cat character hasn't officially talked yet in the actual game. She'll be there, and that character will be bouncing off and supporting his character, and his character be helping save her and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be good to see that, and you find out things about people by the way they play their characters.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason that role play is used in therapy and things along those lines, because it makes you think like someone else. It makes you empathize with their perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So, very valuable. But we're butting up against the time limit for the first Around the Hearth. So, any final remarks for character legacy in your games or / family genealogy through the games type of thing?
Make babies.
Make babies. Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
The best part of making babies is the making babies.
Yeah, we did have this discussion.
Well,
we hit everything this week.
So
Well, that fits well with what I always say, is give it a try.
give it a try.
Oh boy.
Let us know how it goes in the comments, or if you've
Or send us
had,
pictures of your kids.
if you have something like Zach has done, or the orphanage like
Oh, yeah.
Adam's done. We just love to hear
Seriously. Share it with us.
what other genealogies or legacies that you've created, and sharing them like Zach did. That's just awesome to let your friends take them too. Yeah, that's really cool.
Telling
To
you.
know they're off there, out somewhere doing something.
A new PDF
Yeah.
coming out of that village.
Taylahaylia.
I love it.
Taylahaylia. It just rolls
Yeah,
off the tongue.
it's gonna be beautiful.
Anyways, all right. We're done.
I like it.
Chef's kiss.
All right. Well, then, remember to like, share, comment, subscribe. Do what you do on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. YouTube and BitChute is where these are. So find us there. Have a great day. God bless and enjoy. Bye.
Sure.
Bye.
This content was made possible by travelers and viewers like you. Thank you.
Perfect. I'll just cut everything so they're all separate chunks.
Taylahaylia, I'm just gonna put that down. That's gonna be
This
legit.
sounds like something we need to sit down and role play, build some maps.
It's happening. That is happening.
No, I'm serious. Like that would be a fantastic thing to share. Who doesn't love a pre-made, especially one so unique? I mean, that would be.
I mean, there's the town of Hamlet. Now there's the town of Taylahaylia.
And that's beautiful. I'm excited for you.
Yeah, and it's like there's nothing more flattering than people asking if they can play someone, that's either a character of yours. Like I've had some people ask.